Hey everybody, this is my 125 gallon native tank, and this morning when I came down I turned the lights on and there was some crayfish out, so I tried to get some video of them and they wound up just kind of sitting there not really doing anything, and then I swallowed the wrong way and I started coughing and choking and it wound up just being a disaster of a video, so I deleted all of that and we're going to try again. We don't have any crayfish that are out and about. I did actually just see, on an unrelated note, my high-finned spotted pleco is in the back. It looks like he's sitting up on one of those empty snail shells, kind of perched up on it, but it almost makes it look like he's standing up on his fins. Kind of interesting. So when we were looking at the tank this morning, we noticed that crayfish house. That looks like a crayfish house. I know that's a crayfish house down in there. I know that's a crayfish house in there because I saw the crayfish claws sticking out this morning. I just saw some movement in there. I don't know if that was a fish or the crayfish. That little hole right there is a crayfish house. We've got crayfish that live under there. So there's plenty of little houses for the crayfish in here, but we don't see them very often. So what I was talking about this morning was how if I keep a sustainable amount of crayfish in here, in other words, if I keep a small enough number of crayfish that they don't kill each other off from territorial disputes, then I don't think we get to see them very often. In order for me to have enough crayfish in here for it to be a really active tank and to see lots of total drama crayfish, I think I need to just have too many crayfish, if that makes sense. So I'm not too worried about it from, you know, a big meanie point of view of the crayfish fighting and killing each other and all that kind of stuff. I've said many times that crayfish are basically the aquatic equivalent of a bug. I don't really worry too much about them being territorial and attacking each other. The dead crayfish wind up being food for the other crayfish. They provide food for the fish. So, you know, it's a fairly unnatural environment because it's a fish tank. It's basically a box of water. But at the same time, that kind of behavior goes on in the wild all the time anyway. The crayfish are always attacking each other and fighting over territory, and they're being, you know, eaten by larger fish and everything else. So again, I don't feel too bad about doing that, but it is really sort of the way I'm going to get more crayfish activity. I'm going to almost have to overpopulate the tank with crayfish in order to get them out and about, and you know, that excitement and that action we see is actually them fighting over territory and them, you know, interacting with each other, and they're not doing so in a friendly way. Crayfish are not a gregarious animal. They don't like to hang out in groups or be near each other or anything like that. So when you see the crayfish interacting in the tank, excuse me, when you see the crayfish interacting in this tank, you know, it's aggression. So once again, it's, you know, if I find that balance of where I can keep a few crayfish in this tank, they're probably just going to lay low, stay in their caves, and only come out during feeding time, and we're not going to get to see a lot of activity. So I've been saying for a while now, I do want to increase the number of crayfish in this tank, and that's pretty much exactly why I want to increase the number of crayfish in this tank. So we're going to head on down to the stream. I'm going to probably set my trap out. And if I don't set my trap out, I'm at least going to take my dip net with me, and if there's any that are out and about, we can go ahead and try to catch them with my dip net. I've already got my waterproof socks on and my NRS Velocity shoes, so I'm good to go as far as walking in the water and keeping my feet dry. And who knows, maybe we'll even get a little bit of a kayak video later this afternoon. It's an absolutely gorgeous Saturday afternoon. So sit tight, give me a minute, and I will see you guys down at the stream. Alright, here we are. So the water's nice and clear today, but so far, just walking up, I haven't seen any crayfish obviously sitting out on the sandbank like they normally do. So it is still a little early in the year. I know they're out moving. I've seen a few. I've even caught a few. But they're not really active yet. I'm just not seeing them. This place, I can normally come down here and maybe 15 or 20 minutes I can go home with a dozen of them in my dip net, you know, just using my little dip net here to catch them. I didn't bother bringing the trap down today. Oh, I think I see one. Yep, that's definitely a crayfish. Let me get my foot out of this muck here. See, I'm not sure how he's going to go. He's right up against this rock down here. He's a little too far away for me to get my hand near him. Oh, I got him. See, he's not a very big one, but that's one. That was one. I just threw it in the grass. There he is. All right, there's one. They're commonly found in piles of sticks and brush like that. I'm looking around now and I don't see any. They blend in with sticks really well. If you look down on them from their backs, they basically just look like a brown stick in the water. That's a little tiny one, but it's another one. There's one right there. There's another one. I guess there's a few more out than I was expecting today. See if we can't scare something up down here. No, no crayfish. There's a little tiny one. I would imagine these little ones probably get eaten by creek chubs. Oh, I got him after all. Another one landed in the grass, but I wound up catching him. Well, here's another one of these little sculpin-like fish. For all of those of you who keep asking me what happens to them, I have no idea. I put them in the tank and they vanish. I don't know if the chubs are eating them. I don't know if the crayfish are eating them. I've tested this water. This water, other than temperature, this water is almost identical to my water. So it's not the water that's killing them. I don't know what it is, but I cannot get these things to survive in my tank for very long. But if they're going in there as a natural food source for one of the animals, that's fine with me too, so I don't mind it. I don't go out of my way to catch them, but if I, you know, happen to see one like that and I grab it, then I will. Alright, let's see. I can see some crayfish nesting activity around this rock. The little tiny one, he just shot up underneath of this rock. There's a real little tiny one in here. We're probably not going to find any of the bigger ones where we're looking. We're probably going to have to go down here to find anything larger, get out into the deeper water. But you never know. Bunch of black vultures flying around overhead. I don't know how well that's coming out on camera, but you can see the claw of a crayfish right there. Something got torn up and devoured. I'm not seeing anything over here. There's little minnows swimming around. There's some minnows out there. There's a big old school in there, and I can definitely see some dugout cave activity underneath those larger rocks. There's a bunch of dugout cave activity right there. So there's probably some good sized crayfish living under there. And I know over here where it's really deep, that's why I always throw my trap over here. Over here, however, I don't think we're going to find anything bigger than we've been finding. And frankly, I think I've probably got enough by now. It's just now that I'm outside, I don't want to go back home. I think maybe I will go out on the kayak this afternoon. It almost looks like somebody was down here trying to tinker with building a dam. I hate when people do that. Yeah, it looks like somebody built some sort of rudimentary dam, but it also looks like somebody came through and broke it down a little bit, which is fine with me. There's a bunch of tiny little minnows in there, but I don't see any crayfish. I see another crayfish claw. Alright, let's make our way back over here. There's a little guy. And we'll have one last look down here where we might actually see something a little bit bigger. Unfortunately, every time we move down here, we make the silt go this way, and even though we're walking upstream, we're in the eddy, so it's kind of like walking downstream, and it's always tough walking downstream because you cloud your own water. So, alright. We're going to call that good. Now, I guess we can take a little walk across the street and see what's going on over there. I've never really seen any crayfish worth catching over there, but wouldn't hurt to go have a walk over there and look around.
Lots of little minnows. But no crayfish. I generally don't see any crayfish when I come up through here. You know, I do have another neighbor that lets me set out my crayfish trap and tinker around in the stream on her property. And I can usually get a lot of crayfish there. So maybe we can do that. I haven't spoken to her since last spring. So I will definitely want to double check with her and make sure that's still okay before I did it. But maybe we'll be able to get over there and check that out soon. I already see all the minnows making their way up ahead of me. Look at them all. See, some of these little caves you'll see sort of dug out underneath of the rocks are not necessarily crayfish. There are bottom dwelling minnows and, you know, other animals that will do that too. But that is what a crayfish house looks like. You can see all this turfed up from deer running through here. Look at it all, it's all deer hoof prints. See lots of minnows, but no crayfish. It must just be really early in the year. I don't know why we're not seeing any crayfish. Well, obviously we're seeing some, we caught some, but there should just be plenty of crayfish out and about. See, that's a pretty good indicator of exactly what I'm talking about with stuff living under rocks. That was a good easy one to spot. I'm gonna guess that's a lot of little stuff living under those rocks there. See all the deer prints through here. There's a bunch of little fish up in there. Alright, we're going to call it the end of the line. As usual, we turn around at this tree here. Man, what an awesome day. Alright, let's get on out of here. Get these crayfish back in the tank, and then we'll get the kayak loaded up maybe and get on out of the house for a little while. Do something today because it's a really nice day out. I hate walking through all that silt and muck. The only complaint I have about these velocity shoes, and it's not really even a complaint. They're not meant to be like waders, so they don't have gravel guards of any sort. They just have open collar around your ankle, so when I step in the sand and the silt and stuff like that, it swirls up and a lot of it comes back down, and after a while you can tell you got sand in your shoe when you're walking around with sand in your shoes. But like I said, they're not really meant to be wading shoes, so again, that's not really a legitimate complaint. I actually wear these socks and shoes when I go out hiking a lot of times. If I'm going to be hiking in somewhere where I know I have streams to cross and I'm going to be getting my feet wet. So these actually double for me as hiking boots and hiking socks. All right. I will see you guys back at the house.
Alright, here we are. So let me get myself situated here. This is what we've got. Not a huge amount. Let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, looks like 6 little crayfish, and then that little sculpin thing. So I suspect, being that everybody's down at this end of the tank thinks food's coming in because I just opened the lid, these tiny little crayfish may not even make it to the bottom. So this is going to be pretty interesting to watch, see if these chubs don't make short work of these crayfish. So I'm going to go ahead and pour them in now. And they all got left alone for the most part, it looks like. I just saw that sculpin for a second on the piece of wood, and then he's gone. Oh, there he is. That crayfish just went after it. So that's a good look at it. I'm seeing it on my little viewfinder, so I don't know how well the details are coming out. But that's that mystery fish in question. I don't know whether that's a darter or a sculpin. I think it's a mottled sculpin. That's what I always go with in my head. Again, oh wow, we just saw some serious activity with these chubs trying to eat these crayfish. I had no idea chubs were like that. I always assumed that these crayfish disappeared from the other crayfish in the tank. I had no idea creek chubs went after crayfish like that. That was brutal. Well, now that these creek chubs are getting the size they're getting, then I'm pretty much going to need to have some fairly large crayfish in this tank in order for them to survive. And I'm wondering whether or not that little sculpin will survive those creek chubs, or what's going on with that. It's hard to say, but judging by how those big ones got attacked, I'm surprised those little tiny crayfish survived at all. Maybe they were just so small they didn't even get noticed. But even that little Notropus over there seems to be attacking the crayfish and that sculpin. I guess life in the wild really is a dog-eat-dog world. Everybody tries to eat everybody. So we've still got the crayfish down here hiding for cover. We've still got the chubs trying to get it. And I guess it looks like for the most part everybody else is sort of starting to settle down. Except right here we've got 2 crayfish going at it. Well, they were going at it, of course, until as soon as I bring the camera over, then they stopped. There they go again. So I'm fascinated by these little Notropis going after these crayfish. If I would have picked any of the fish in here to have done that, I would have picked the chubs just based on their body shape, size, and then of course their mouth size. The Notropis have little tiny mouths. They look much more like the kind of fish that picks off tiny little insects and, you know, little microcrustaceans and stuff like that. I don't see them as being highly predatory. And yet they sure seem to be highly predatory. So the crayfish definitely add a splash of drama to any tank. I absolutely love these little animals. They're just great in a fish tank. They really, really add a lot of life and excitement. Now, I've often said that, you know, don't put crayfish in a tank where you don't want to lose some fish. And that's true. If you've got crayfish in a tank, they will occasionally catch and kill fish, or they'll even do damage. Having a hard time. Oh, look, he got it all the way in his mouth, and now other ones are attacking him trying to get it. Let me try to back up here and get a little bit of a wider view. Maybe we can actually see what's going on. So one of the chubs, I don't know which one at this point, got that crayfish. One of the Notropis scared it up, and it went up into the water column. You saw it go up towards the top of the tank. And then once it was up there, everybody went after it, and one of the chubs got it. And with its tail sticking out of the chub's mouth, all the other chubs were trying to grab it from the one that had it. And so then it became, you know, trying to catch that chub to get his food. So this is a totally dramatic video after all. I didn't realize this was going to wind up being another total drama crayfish video, but it sure has. I knew putting some smaller ones in the tank was going to generate some interest. We've still got some attacks going on back there, but they're trying to get to some of those smaller ones. We've got the two way back in the corner there. I don't know if you can tell, but there's two hiding in the corner that are fairly small. I would imagine they'd be fair game once you know, they get out in the open and someone sees them. We've still got this one hiding right here. And then these, I can't believe these little Notropis are so aggressive with their tiny little mouths like that. They just don't look like the kind of fish that would be really predatory. But boy, they sure are. Oh, look, here he is. See the crayfish sticking out of his mouth? So it wasn't even one of the really big chubs. I mean, it was one of the bigger ones, but not the two largest in the tank that got that crayfish. So imagine the size of the crayfish that that big one could eat if it wanted to. Alright, everybody. I'm going to call that good for this one, I guess. It's interesting now everybody's down at this end of the tank because I was down here. I'm wondering if they didn't see me down here and then think I was putting some food out, or possibly the crayfish being crunched up and eaten by that chub there. Maybe the little bits of the flavor are getting out into the water column. Or now everybody's gone, so perhaps it was just a school of fish moving around the tank and checking out the other end of the tank. So this is where they usually hang out. This is kind of like normal rest, you know, standing position of the tank, as everybody's sort of facing upstream in the current, kind of hiding in the woodwork, laying low like that. And then of course we get that big school of those rosy side dace, which I absolutely love. So that was a fun little outing, and that was a really, really exciting introduction into the tank. So thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed. I will leave you with one final look at that little sculpin. He's actually out somewhere nice and visible for the moment, so enjoy that look while you can. He's probably not going to be in here long. They never are. Again, just don't know why. I don't know if they get eaten or what, but I'm going to go out on a limb now and suggest maybe they get eaten after what we just witnessed. So again, make sure you're subscribed. That way you won't miss any of that or anything else I got coming up. Yeah, I'm going to guess that they probably wind up getting eaten. So thanks again for watching. Don't forget, this is my 125 gallon native tank, and I will see you real soon on the next one.